And while we're at it, a lot of people have been thanked here tonight, but ladies and gentlemen, thank yourselves for selling out winos and the Spoken Word Festival. Good work. Excellent. Well, as Billy mentioned, I host Daybreak, which is the early weekend morning show, Saturday and Sundays, 6 to 9 a.m. on CBC Radio. Who doesn't love getting up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning? Yes, indeed. So Sherry D came to me with the concept of she'd like me to get up and do something that was a little bit different. And a lot of what we're doing here tonight is about communication. And I've been on the radio in one form or another for about 25 years. And I had a colleague of mine do up a little inventory of sorts, because we're all about inventories now, right? I mean, how many of us here tonight know how many Facebook friends we have? Good. Excellent. How many people here know how many followers they have on Twitter? It's a number, right? I mean, 20 years ago, if you thought about your friends, you didn't count them up. They were the people that you saw at the Coop or something like that. But now we've got this inventory going on. So I had a colleague of mine, she did up this, how many interviews I've done in my career. And it's about 11,000 interviews over the course of 25 years. So you learn a lot about asking questions. So I'm going to talk a little bit about questions, and I'm going to talk a little bit about communication. Now, we're having an amazing time here tonight. Aren't the poets wonderful we've heard so far? And it's only going to get better. But I know many of us have been to poetry events before, and there's always that I want to say a guy, because it's usually a guy who gets up, who thinks he can write poetry, and also thinks he can read it in public. And he clearly can't. I have a modest example of that here tonight. I call this Journal of a Platonic Boyfriend. The platonic boyfriend greets you at the airport gate, ready to take your baggage. The platonic boyfriend could be with a different girl every night, but his +1 invite is always for you. The platonic boyfriend knows exactly what to get you for your birthday. He's never mean, so you're never that keen. The platonic boyfriend should try plenty of fish, you say. He's a great catch, you say, as you release him. The platonic boyfriend is never like those jerks you keep meeting, and his capacity for listening to your stories of dating woe never wanes. A friend says to you, have you ever thought of dating your platonic boyfriend? Oh no, we're just friends, you say. Harvard disagrees. They did a study, you see, on men and women in platonic relationships, and how they constantly misread each other's signs. The guy, well, if given the opportunity, he would romance his female friend. The gal has no such interest in the male friend. Having sex just ruins the relationship, doesn't it? So the platonic boyfriend scouts on endlessly, hopefully. One day, she'll notice the good deeds. One day, all this listening, doing favors, and courting will lead to something. But it's the platonic boyfriend leading himself on. Convinced his female friend will eventually see what a nice guy he is. That's the problem with nice guys. Too nice to make a move, too nice to face rejection. Then one day, on his own flight of fancy, he fancies the announcement. Put on your own mask first before attempting to help others. And the next day, the invites to the events stop. The platonic boyfriend, the friend with no benefit. Now, communication. We often misread what people think. We often don't know what someone else is thinking. So I thought there's a couple of questions that I think can help sort a lot of this stuff out. Because a lot of times people will tell you far more about who they are than they'll tell you about the subject matter. And I'll give you an example of this. Tonight here, I would like to help each and every one of you become a better lover. Is that okay?
Sure.
Good. To do that, I'll need a volunteer. Is there someone who would like to help me? Yes, come on up. All right. What's your name?
Dave. Dave.
All right, Dave. What do you do for a living?
I'm a math teacher.
Excellent. And you're here tonight because you love poetry?
Yes.
Why do you love poetry?
It's expressive, it's full of life and meaning. It's profound.
Excellent. So, Dave and I'm going to ask Dave a couple of questions, but for you here tonight, I want you to either take your phones or take an old-fashioned piece of paper and a pen if you got one. And I'm going to ask Dave here a couple of questions. And I want you to jot down your answers as well. All right? So, Dave, the first question I'm going to ask you, and the first question I'll ask the group, what's your favorite color? Purple. Okay, purple. So write down what you think your favorite color is. Just the first color that popped into your mind. So Dave, I want to ask you, you've chosen purple, and what is it about purple that you like?
Well, it's the story of Christ's passion on the cross. It's a very moving story. And purple is the color signifying Christ's suffering on the cross.
All right, and for you personally, what do you feel when you see the color purple?
Well, I do think flowers a lot, like irises, I think, are purple. And crocuses, I think, too, have some purple in them, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
And when does it give you any sort of emotion?
Yeah, it does. I saw a nice young lady in a purple dress, actually, the other day.
That could stir emotions, certainly. All right, so I want you to think, for each of you, for whatever color you've chosen, I want you to think about how that color makes you feel. And what you think when you see the color. It could be any color at all, obviously, but what kind of emotions go through your mind when you think about that color or wear that color, which is a popular thing. Now, Dave, the second question. If you could have any kind of pet, what would you choose?
Probably a dog, but I'm just wondering what breed of dog I would like to have.
But a dog?
I have a dog. A little dogger family. I have a dog.
All right. So
part Bichon, part Corgi. She's just the cutest little dog. She's black, but she's got white on her muzzle. She's got white on her chest. She's got white paws. She's got white on her tail. Oh, she's the cutest little dog. She's so cute.
Excellent. All right. So for each of you, think about an animal. Could be any kind of animal that you would choose to have as a pet. Now, Dave, it doesn't necessarily have to be theoretical in your part, because you've got the ideal pet. You've got your dog. So, what do you admire about your dog? What do you admire about dogs in general?
They're just so darn cute. What do I admire about dogs? Personality. They're so. Yeah, when she's hungry, she just gets so cute. She just jumps up on you, and she sort of jumps up in the air. She puts your paws on your waist, and she goes and she sort of like almost like smiles at you. She's just so cute.
Excellent. So we've established that Dave has a cute dog, and that it's the cutest dog ever. I think that's fair to say, right? All right. So now, I'll turn the same thing over to you. I want you to think about that pet. I want you to think about how that pet makes you feel. I want you to think about the things that you admire about that pet, and what you like about it, and how it makes you feel when you see it. Now, Dave, you say you teach math, you love poetry, okay? This sort of comes back to what I said earlier about how oftentimes people will tell you far more about themselves than they'll tell you about the subject matter at hand. I could be interviewing somebody about how we're going to fix the economy, and they'll probably tell me far more about an economic thing that'll benefit them, as opposed to benefiting everybody else. Or if we should do more for arts funding, someone will probably tell you more about what they value in art than what kind of funding art should get. So Dave, in your case you said, first of all, color. You said purple. Now the color that Dave mentioned doesn't matter. In fact, none of the colors that you picked matter. Because I wasn't really asking you about your favorite color. What I was asking was how you feel about yourself and the things that excite you and how you like to be seen in the world. Now you talked about flowers and you talked about religious faith. So I'm going to guess that something that's very important to you is life and your faith.
Yes.
So for anybody here who, just think about the adjectives that you chose when you talked about your colors. Do those adjectives, do you think they describe you? Most of the time I think that's probably going to be the case. Most of you will find that those adjectives describe who you are or who you like to be seen as, the type of person you want to be. Now Dave, I asked you about your favorite pet. You said a dog, right?
Yes.
You said the cutest dog ever.
I really think so. Oh, you have to see her.
All right, Dave will come around later. He'll show you pictures, and you'll believe him. See, he's got it on the phone. This could take a while. Hang on, Dave. All right. So now, what I really asked about in that instance was not the pet. What animal you chose, again, doesn't matter. You could have chose anything. I've had everything from dragons to cats to octopus. What I really wanted to know with that question was, what do you look for in a relationship? Think about those adjectives for a moment. Is that the person you're looking for? Is that the type of qualities of the person you want to date? Is that the qualities of the person you're married to? And if it's not the qualities of the person you're married to or dating, think about going with someone else. So, I often tell people, now in your case, Dave, you talked about your dog being cute. You talked about the dog having personality.
Yes. Do I need to tell people that you and I actually met before I put up my hand?
Well, we didn't go over this.
No, we didn't. That's
All right, this is like Kreskin. We've not met before. We prearranged nothing. So I think it's a fair. I don't know if you're single or married or anything, but I would say that if you were looking for a relationship of any kind, that's what you're looking for. Somebody cute, somebody with great personality.
Yeah, I think so. But not somebody who is hungry all the time.
So if you think you're going to get a great steak dinner at a Dave tonight, that's probably not going to happen. He's probably not going to buy you groceries on the first date, but
I'm a teacher, money's a little tight.
On a teacher's salary, I mean, but he's a teacher. He's educating the next generation, so that's got to be worth something, right? Dave, thank you so much. And so there's a book by a gentleman by the name of Simon Sinek, and it's called The Big Why. And he's done one of these TED Talks before, which you can probably find online. And it's sort of been a big guiding principle of a lot of what I've done over the last few years with the interviews I do on Daybreak. When people come in to be interviewed for whatever the thing is, whether it's Sherry D talking about the Spoken Word Festival, or it's someone coming in to talk about their book or their film, the audience are strangers, right? They don't care that you're putting on a festival. They don't care if you've written a book. They got lots of things to choose to do on a Thursday night. But they will connect with you if they understand why you do what you do. What you do almost doesn't matter. but why you do it. Why do you get up in the morning and put your shoes on and your clothes on and go to work? Why do you want to make a difference in the world? Everybody wants to make a difference, but why do you want to do it? What's the motivation? And that's what I wanted to try and get at here tonight. Think about your whys. Think about your motivations for doing things. Think about the adjectives that you use that are valuable to you. And then whether you're going to go home tonight and put those adjectives into a dating website to find the perfect person and describe yourself to them, or whether or not it's something that you want to communicate to your family. Ask them a question. Sometimes the best questions start with a why, a what, a how. Not did you, are you, will you. Be open and neutral. You never know what'll happen. That's my dead talk. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me at the Spoken Word Festival, and we'll see you on the weekend mornings. Good night.